You want the job or not?
How's the pay?
Not great. But the hours are worse.
Hello everyone, today I wanted to rant a little bit about problems surrounding Mappa Studios, who in recent years were getting a lot of attention, sometimes for the good reasons, such as production on many popular animes, and sometimes for bad reasons, since for a lot of people this animated studio became pretty much the worst example of the industry. Currently, the studio got into a scandal because a lot of animators expressed their unhappiness with the way studio treats its workers. They aren't getting paid enough and not given enough time to finish the work. Meanwhile, studio gets a shit ton of money and praises in social media. And oh boy, let me tell you, Mappa doesn't deserve any of the praises. Definitely not after working conditions they made for their animators. And apparently it was so bad, a couple of them even had a meltdown on social media. Which we'll discuss today and try to figure out what led to all of that. Hope you enjoy! So, Mappa Studios, Japanese animated studio that was founded 12 years ago on June 14th. For those who don't know, by the way, Mappa is an acronym. Moriyama Animation Produce Project Association. Yes, I know, shocker, right? It's not just some random word. Established by Masao Moriyama, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, co-founder of Madhouse, by the way. Ever since being founded in 2011, studio worked on many projects such as Yuri on Ice, Zombieland Saga, Dororo, Attack on Titan, God of High School, Jujutsu Kaisen, Vinland Saga, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise? Wait, really? They work on this crap?
You're right. It's hers. And it's shit.
A little bit about how studio was founded. I swear it's gonna be important later. Basically, back in the day, Masao Moriyama was working on the anime This Corner of the World, which basically, due to financial difficulties, was stuck in production hell. In order to somehow fix those troubles and get this movie going, Masao establishes Mappa in hopes to finally release this film. However, spoiler alert, that didn't really help. Anime still was released only 5 years later, still because of difficulties to raise funds. Unfortunately, in 2016, Masao Moriyama resigned, and studio CEO became Manabu Otsuka, who technically did fix the financial problem, but not in the way that is best for his workers.
This guy is anti-charisma. He is the exact opposite of Riz. Like, this dude legitimately has less game than someone that is asleep.
Because starting somewhere here, studio will face multiple allegations after multiple allegations of not being able to pay enough to their workers, or forcing them to work extra because of the obscenely stupid deadlines. And not letting them to see their family. Yes, this joke is pretty popular right now, but as you know, every joke has a little bit of truth in it. And now we cut to the present day, and current boycott of Mappa animators. And by the way, little note, I'm gonna use the word boycott, even though technically it's not always boycott, because occasionally those protests are pretty quickly resolved. But this is one of the few boycotts that are actually impacting the viewers. The last episode of anime Jujutsu Kaisen that recently came out had some issue in it. Basically, episode 17 of season 2 came out and caused a lot of controversy. Sure, a lot of people said it's a masterpiece, and a lot of people said it's ugly and it's not even worth watching. I'm here, of course, is not gonna voice my very important opinion that everybody wants to hear, of course. I'm just gonna say that this episode caught my attention because the animators themselves said that this episode is going to be released unfinished. So imagine the faces of all the people who liked it, who now know that it might have been even better. Especially when it's supposedly only 30% that made it to the final cut. It could have looked so much better, but apparently there was just no time because of the pouring schedule. So basically, animators who went on strike complained that the working conditions in studio are far from being good.
I can't work here for a penny under 65, I'm sorry.
The thing is, that is not even the first time animators complain about their job. And not only in Twitter, but also in interviews. Yes, last time was when Mappa worked on project for Netflix, when animators were paid only 3,800 yen per cut. That is $34. And keep in mind that people who complain are people who also worked on the cinematic masterpiece we all love. Like, people who should be cherished for making such an amazing scenes, now complain that they're forced to work overtime and not getting paid enough for their work. It's especially weird to hear considering budgets of most anime you watch are pretty much the same. Like, occasionally there are exceptions where they're a little bit bigger, but mostly they stay within the same field. The other anime studios don't seem to face such a huge backlash. That is, by the way, a statement from One Punch Man character design, so I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about. It is important to mention that not all animators are complaining. Some people are saying that the work on Jujutsu Kaisen has been like the best experience of their life. But there's still a lot of irrefutable proof that a lot of people are unhappy. On the other hand, this is probably possibly due to animators working in groups. So a lot of animators basically work on different parts of the anime, and they kind of have different schedules and occasionally possibly even having different working conditions.
You know this shit was just business, right?
Still, some of those situations from a side view look awful, because for example, the director of the mentioned episode of Jujutsu Kaisen pretty much had a meltdown on Twitter, mostly blaming himself for how bad the episode was. Mappa, of course, occasionally does give him something in return, to stop the complaints. Like, for example, when they started working in Chainsaw Man, they had to build a whole different studio to, cancel the allegations. However, despite opinions of many people, protests aren't always effective. For example, after a group of animators that worked on Attack on Titan complained too much, the next group that was starting to work on Jujutsu Kaisen season got updated contracts. One of the new aspects of which basically prevented animators from ever complaining outside the studio. Nice logic, right? Your animators are complaining that they aren't getting paid enough.
Why do you cry?
What should you do? Fix those issues? Just force them not to speak about it so none of this will be leaked to the public.
It's just business.
The thing is, what people don't realize about the animation, it not only costs money but also time and talent. The thing is, because of that, some scenes literally come out of the expense of some workers. The thing is, with Jujutsu Kaisen especially, that kinda looks like what's happening, because many animators stated that they're practically begged to give him not only time to relax but to actually finish the job, because apparently many episodes have been made practically minutes before being aired. I guess it is pointless to say that all of their requests were denied by production committee. Like always, the issue is it's all could have been prevented. Surprise, surprise, studio don't start working on anime out of nowhere. They always not only schedule, plan the due dates and stuff, but also plan how many people are gonna work on a certain anime. In Mappa, they have about 300 animators, and occasionally they work on several anime at the same time, which is, I guess, another weird decision, because, for example, the animators that work on Attack on Titan and animators that work on Jujutsu Kaisen are two different animation teams. So I'm not entirely sure how nobody saw those issues coming, especially when something like this already appeared in Mappa's history. Or maybe, like always, nobody cared because...
Business as usual.
On top of that, Manabu Otsuka in a recent interview explained that the reason why studio is working on so many anime at the same time is because they're planning to get a bigger name this way. Like, the plan is to gain popularity by working on as any animation as possible. And apparently, complaining animators were not exactly part of this plan. Which explains the whole story with updated contracts. However, if you're wondering how things got that far, well, there might be two reasons. That is, money and money. Those issues, even though sound pretty simple, are actually a little more complex. For example, I can see when problems may appear when studio decides to work on 4 anime at the same time. This way, while running for money and fame, greedy studio forgets that the animators are people too, actually. But I mean, after all, what's the problem? I mean, they're gonna rent for a little bit, just quit, and we're gonna hire new animators, but the fame from animation stays. Oh yeah, by the way, about new animators. In addition, some animators complained that upon arriving into Mappa for first time, they haven't received proper training, and pretty much just other people they worked with taught them how to do it all. Again, I don't have an animation studio, but I feel like that's not how it's supposed to be.
Let me tell you something, kid. I made more fucking money for these assholes than you could make in a million fucking years.
Actually, one of the animators even also said that Mappa pretty much is interested in pulling new ambitious young animators into the industry. But upon arriving to the studio, they have to face an incredibly stupid scheduling system, not only killing their talent but also ambitions in the process. I mean, it's not very good when animators decline the job as soon as they hear about scheduling, right? But also the issue is how Japanese industry of animation even works. Basically, when an animation studio needs a budget for a certain anime or film or etc., they work with production committee. I'm really oversimplifying it, but basically that's a bunch of different companies or people who give them money so they can start working on the anime. In order to receive this money back, multiplied by 1,000. Not only from money gathered from airing this anime, but also from toys, figurines, pretty much everything that people buy that is related to this anime. On paper, that does sound smart. A lot of people throw in money so a studio can start working on the anime, viewers are happy, and the investors get their money back multiplied from their success. However, in reality, as a result, you gotta deal with a bunch of investors demanding certain quality, time of release,
And everything you once knew, including yourself. They mold you.
Basically, it can become a whole complicated mess, since each of the investors can now influence production. In some instances, it can be avoided, of course. For example, during production of Chainsaw Man, Mappa decided to cover the whole funding themselves. However, I'm not sure they're gonna do it too often, since it kinda backfired, because even Mappa executives admitted that even though Chainsaw Man made a lot of money, they expected it to be a little bit more profitable. In the end, they went back to the usual system with production committee, which again set an unrealistic due date, which again pushed animators to work beyond their limits and in overtime, which is really, really sad. You know, Joseph Stalin once said, "There are no irreplaceable people." And I feel like even though a lot of people are going to deny it, I'm pretty sure they're all agreeing with him. And I guess that is it for today. Tell me in the comments if you like this video and if you would like to see more content like this. Like, subscribe, see ya!